Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Butchester. You guys know what I like to do on my show. Say it with me. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And that's what we want to do today. We want to get you fired up about my guest. I'll be spending time today with Laurie Dempsey, and we'll be talking about her book, Memoirs of My Life. So go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee, or get your tea, because we are about to get started. Hello, Laurie. Thank you so much for joining me here on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Now, as is tradition around here, we always give our guests an opportunity to introduce themselves to perhaps some folks out there that may be unfamiliar with you or your work. So first question, can you tell us just a little something about yourself? What makes you you?
I was born in Atlantic City, New Jersey, and lived in New Jersey, and I'm basically on the East Coast. I've gone to University of Stockton, and have worked with horses and children in the school system. I enjoy writing, and I have published a book, Memoirs of My Life.
Now, being an author, is that something that you've always wanted to do that, or did you find that this was simply the best way to, or one of the best ways to share your story?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to be an author since I was little, and wanting to share with people my experience with a horse I knew, Legend. And I spent a lot of time with Legend, and I wanted to write about him and really make a life worthwhile by allowing people to read about him.
Now, the title of your book, Memoirs of My Life, can you tell us, how did you come about the title of your book? Did it come to you first? Did it develop out of the writings? What's the story there?
It was an act of God. The horse needed to share his life and make it his memoirs. It was such an inspiring animal to ride. I rode him in shows, and he had been shown before I got him. And he was inspiring to others, and was on television, and was portrayed in illustration, and he did various modes of riding, and went throughout America at different levels, including some parade, and worked with a lot of aspiring people and authors and writers. And I wanted to do something creative and inspiring to allow his voice to be heard when he was out there competing, and allowing him to be a little bit more noticeable, that he did have a personality that was allowable and acceptable.
I can definitely understand why you would want to share the life of this beautiful horse with the rest of the world. It's the same, not diminishing the horse in any way, but it's the same that I understand with people who have show animals of any aspect, show dogs in particular. There is a whole behind the scenes that most viewers of the race or of the show are unaware of, and it's fascinating to know the all of what happens to get to the various places. We only see kind of the end result, like the last 5 or 6 minutes of it all, but it is quite a journey that you guys go on. So you are so right there. Now, when it comes to the proper age group for the book. Would you say that your book is appropriate for those high school age, or do they need to be a little bit older, perhaps, to understand some of the references that you make? Do you need to have a little more life experience to understand?
I've had it enjoyed by high school and adults. Uh, the children who read it that are younger have enjoyed it with parental guidance.
I can definitely understand the fact that it's about a horse. I think is going to really be a draw for them. Most children, really, they love animals. Unless they've had a negative experience with one, by and large, I think that children adore animals. So I'm so glad that they're able to enjoy it as well. Now, when it comes to the proper way to read your book, I know that many authors help the reader along on the journey by setting the book in a way that is a best read. Would you say that your book is best read from cover to cover, meaning that the reader can start anywhere as long as they start at some portion and read to the other portion? Or would you say that perhaps taking it chapter or section by section is most would help them understand the journey better, or does it matter how they read the book as long as they read the entire book? Reader's choice, if you will.
I've had people enjoy it both ways. I've had people say that they started from the beginning and had a rough time understanding. First of all, it was a horse whose voice was coming through. And I've had people say they prefer to page through it, look through it, and read a chapter here, chapter there, and then the beginning of it, understand it at a higher level. I think the beginning is definitely the part where you need to scrutinize and expect a resolve sooner or later rather than right away. But it comes. And I found people enjoying the second read. They said they enjoyed reading it again. And then they found it more understandable as they went through.
And I have found that I've read some books that are like that as well. I liked it the first time. Some movies as well. I liked it the first time, but then when I watched or I read it a second time, I understood much better, and it became just that much more of a great read or a good movie. So I can definitely understand that, and I think it also depends on where your headspace is at that particular time. When there's something going on, in the world, you may be a little distracted, and when you're able to really get in a quiet space and really dig deep into the book, you're able to find so many gems there. Now, for some of the authors. For some of the authors that I've had the pleasure of speaking with, Laurie, they have said that they were motivated in some way, shape, or form to really take pen to paper or to start typing, if you will. That there was a nudge or a prompting that they felt that they really received. Some have even shared that it felt as though it was like a physical shaking, like a bump, that was like, do this and do it now. Get your book out there. Or even a friend kind of prompted them and said, the world needs to hear this story. Did you have any particular motivation or nudge or prompting that really stood out for you that said now is the time?
Yes. Definitely. I would wake up early in the morning and spend some quality time outside with the horse. And when this happened, I used to sometimes have people stop and watch us do things together while they were driving down the road. And they would inquire what else I was going to do with them. And when they finished asking and they finished making a quick comment here or there, they left me with the idea I really needed to do more, especially having an early morning desire. It fulfilled the beginning of the day by working on the book at the end of the day and remembering what actually occurred in the morning, so I could write some notes to help it start the book and get it going. There was a spiritual draw to it as well, and an enjoyment to continuing the process of the training of the horse into the book, than actually allowing it to correspond with public opinion.
You know, I love asking that question because it's not something that that the person interviewing you is ever really going to know the answer to, right? Because it can change as it goes. I've even had an opportunity to talk to some authors that say, you know, when I shared the story the first time, I felt a particular way, but now, you know, 4 or 5 years have passed and we've done a revision or a new edition of the book, and I've learned so much more. So I wanted to share that too. And you just never know what someone's prompting is or what really keeps them inspired or motivated to share such a story. So I really, really love that. Now, I must admit that I am not a horse person, so please forgive me for asking this next question, but I do know that horses come in different breeds of horse, the same way that we have different breeds of dog, right? One dog is not the same as another dog. One horse is not the exact same as another horse. With that being said, for all of my horse people out there that are curious about the type of horse that we're talking about, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Legend is a Morgan, and he is known as many of the Morgans are for having a beautiful head, beautiful stance. The breed comes from early in American history and was started in Vermont by a composer, Justin Morgan, who decided to rent the little stallion figure out for hire. And he would let the stallion pull logs and take care of people building cabins. And he would let the horse pull the cart to church on Sundays. And they would unharness him and race him after the church services were done. And he would win a lot. And he used him for breeding and started the breed, the Morgan. And it cultivated into another breed of horse called the standardbred, which is used for standardbred racing or sulky racing, as they call it. So it's a long history of horses being connected to people. Mm-hmm. And they have a very sterling pedigree that allows for composition and compassion of the rider to the horse most of the time.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I love that you were able to give us some of that history, and I'm sure my horse lovers out there appreciate that as well. Thank you for sharing that tip. Well, it is time for us to go to break, Laurie, but before we do, can you remind everyone, please, what is the title of this book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
The title is Memoirs of My Life, and you need to get a copy at Amazon or wherever books are sold. The publisher is Author House.
Alrighty, everyone. Now you know where you can get a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Hi everyone, Dr. Angela here. Did you know that Daily Spark is now on Facebook? That's right, you can visit with me at facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I want to know more about what you're thinking. I'd love to know which interview did you find the most entertaining or the most informative. I want to talk to you, and I want you to be able to talk to me. Simply visit facebook.com/Daily Spark with Dr. Angela.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. You guys know who I am. My guest today is Laurie Dempsey, and we're talking about her book, Memoirs of My Life. So, Laurie, my next question for you is, what is one thing that you want for the readers of your book to understand after they have picked up a copy of your book?
The connection between horse and rider is important, and it carries into other elements of life and considerations other than just it's a horse or it's a rider. There's a connection. There's a plausibility that's deeper than most people sometimes consider. There's a section regarding mice where the horse is paying attention to the mice. It's not what some consider as how would a horse take to a mouse, but how they interact with other animals, cats, dogs, how they correspond with people, and sometimes that they're happy or unhappy, that they have feelings, that they consider things. That sometimes a horse is not just a horse.
Now, did you find that while you were in the process of writing the story, putting it all together, were there any particular parts that were either easier to write or harder to write than any other?
I thought the beginning was difficult. I had to explain some of his merit, and I found it difficult. I did do well with the essay that I wrote. It won a contest, and it was well received by people. But it was so well received that I felt a little intimidated about continuing to write to the same standard or higher. And so that's the beginning of the book. And sometimes it's a little tough to get through, and sometimes I wish to rewrite it and make it easier to read. And I haven't come through with all details with that yet. I've been corresponding with a different publisher, and that has been the encouragement.
And it's so funny that you say that, because I mentioned that earlier, that there are so many authors that I've talked to, and they said the same thing, that over the years they realized that, man, I should have included that part, or added this detail, or said it a little bit differently. And I think as we change as people in general, it's not that the story changes, but the nuggets of wisdom change. So you're able to share so much more simply because now you have a better understanding of yourself, and you're able to reflect upon what has happened. So I can definitely understand why you may want to do an update to the story. But I'm glad that everyone is enjoying it, and especially doing an award-winning essay. That is awesome sauce. So congratulations on that. Always, So I definitely hear you there. Now, when it comes to giving advice to some of our aspiring authors out there. And you said a real important thing is, there was an award-winning moment there, and then you're concerned, do I keep along that path? Do I change? How do I make this into exactly what I want and stay true to myself without losing anything from an award-winning moment? For an aspiring author out there that might be going through the same ups and downs of trying to figure out how do they stay true to themselves and continue to write and not lose themselves along the way, do you have any suggestions there? How can they stay true to self and continue to write?
I found I needed to look at my writing constantly. I handwrote it first, and then I took it and I put it on my laptop, and I thought I could be closer to the subject by handwriting it first, but it started to become more manageable being on the laptop. I would say be close to your subject, be close to your writing, and enjoy it, and do your best. And if the best isn't good enough, do it again and make it better.
Mhm.
And try it again.
Mhm. I couldn't agree with you more there. I think that's a good piece of wisdom for all of us, writers and non-writers alike. Keep doing it until it is your best. I have to applaud you on that, because so many people, I think, nowadays will have an attitude of, well, it's good enough. It may not be the best, but it's just good enough. And it's really nice to hear someone reminding us to make sure that we're always trying to put forth our best work, not just our good enough work. So I love that. I love that piece of advice. Now, I like to ask this question of all of my authors, and I phrase it this way. What makes your book different or unique? Because, we have people out there that are going to say, okay, here's another book about a horse. We have horse books out there in the world. Matter of fact, we have books about everything, right? Everyone tends to write about usually a subject that someone else has already written about. But every book kind of stands on its own merit, and every book is unique and special in its own right. So that's my next question for you. What makes your book a little different than some of the other books that we have out there?
It's educational with corpse. It has flow, it has continuity, and it has requirements based on the United States Pony Club and another organization, United States Eventing Association, British Horse Society, and it has culpable gain. If you read it with understanding, you get to acknowledge that there are requirements being fulfilled during the reading of the book. The horse starts to understand. So it's not coming from a narrator's perspective. It is coming from the horse's perspective of what the horse is learning, going through these requirements.
As someone who has worked with horses, as someone who really has a deep understanding of the connection between horse and human, we've heard over the years that there has to be that mutual respect, right? That you can't just go out there and boss a horse around, because that's not going to work. You have to respect the horse as much as the horse has to respect you. If there's someone who is thinking about getting into the horse world, be it that they want to own horses, or they simply want to take a vacation and perhaps spend time around horses, is there anything, someone who isn't used to being in the horse world, is there anything that we need to know to make sure that we are being respectful to the horse so that the horse can respect us back?
I would say look at the cover and the picture on the cover. It was the closest I could come to starting the day with horses and enjoying it, and knowing the horse is also enjoying it. The picture shows the horse with his tail slightly up in the air, looking inquisitively at his handler, and knowing that there's compassion between horse and rider. It's not about necessarily the saddle and the bridle. It's about the horse and the person, and starting together. Whether you have a lot of experience or whether you are just starting out, it's starting. Somehow you have to start.
I love that answer. And listeners, when you see the cover, you will see that you can definitely tell that this is a moment in the morning, that it is such a beautiful start to the day. You can almost hear the atmosphere by looking at it. You're so right there. It is a beautiful moment that was captured there. And I love how you say that there must be that understanding, that there is a mutual understanding of what are we going to do today, what is the expectation today, and how do we do this together, not one over the other, but how do we do this together? And I think that's beautiful. We probably need to take that stance with a lot of people that we know as well. How can we get through this day today together? So I love that. I love it. I love it. Well, Laurie, we have about a minute left, and I want to give you an opportunity to give us just one more nugget of wisdom, be it that it is for an aspiring author or someone who is aspiring to get into the horse world. What bits of encouragement or inspiration can you give to us to end our time together?
Think with kindness and originality, and you get to start again.
I love it. I love it. Well, Laurie Dempsey, thank you so much for spending time with me here today on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I enjoyed my time with you today.
Thank you.
And before I let you go one last time, can you remind everyone what is the title of your book? Where can we get a copy? And how do we stay in contact with you?
It's Memoirs of My Life, and it's Amazon or wherever books are sold. The publisher is Author House, and my name is Laurie Dempsey.
Thank you again, Laurie, for being a guest on the show. And listeners, thank you for spending time with us here today as well. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to spend it with me today, and I thank you for doing so. I hope that we have enlightened, inspired, and empowered you again today. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, remember that you are blessed in the Lord. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.